Diamonds are forever. They are all I need to please me. They can stimulate and tease me. They won't leave in the night. I've no fear that they might desert me. Diamonds are forever.
That picture that I showed you there was ugly. That really was ugly. It's a fascinating thing in life that people are able to discern quite readily that which is ugly. The difficulty in life is often discerning that which is truly beautiful. In Isaiah 53, God shows us an image of the Messiah which is truly beautiful. Who has believed what they heard from us, and to whom has the arm of the Lord been revealed? For he grew up before him like a young plant, and like a root out of dry ground. He had no form or majesty that we should look at him, and no beauty that we should desire him. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and as one from whom men hide their faces. He was despised, and we esteemed him not. This is by the Puritan Thomas Goodwin, and the book's called The Heart of Christ. Now, obviously all the words in this book are tremendous, and we would all do well to read them, but it's the artwork that I find interesting, that the banner intentionally chose for this book. It's by an artist, Francisco de Zuberan. I've never seen any of the rest of his work. The title is The Heart of Christ, and the picture is what? Jesus feeding the poor. Is Jesus helping someone who feels lonely? That's important, but that's not the picture the banner chose. They chose a lamb slain. The heart of Christ. Atonement. The Messiah dying that we might live. That's beautiful. In the opening verses of Isaiah 53, the prophet poses a question: who has believed this message that God has given about the Messiah? And it would have been wonderful if we could just say all, or possibly most, but we can see from the tone of it that the implication is not many. Not many, even those who are claiming to be in God's covenant, and not many have come to the conclusion that this is a beautiful promise of what the Messiah is like. Now, how could that be? How could people who are laying claim to God's promise possibly ever miss the beauty of the Messiah? The opening word in verse 3 answers that, and it can help us this Lent as we approach Easter make sure we don't miss the beauty either. And that word is for. For he grew up like a shoot from the dry ground. Then Isaiah elaborates the life of the Messiah and alludes to the death of the Messiah. And nothing to the human eye is beautiful or impressive about this. It's about rejection. It's about being despised, and it's about people turning their face away. This is because the central act of the Messiah is dying for us, making atonement for us, dying for sin so that we can live to God. Isaiah is keen that we don't spend all our time on important but ultimately peripheral notions of God. And he wants to drill down into the central one. God is sending us a Messiah, not so we will be inspired to help the poor. Helping the poor is important, but it's not the centre of the gospel. Isaiah is clear that God is sending a Messiah not to inspire us to reach the marginalised. Helping the marginalised is important, but it's not the centre of the gospel. The reason that the gospel is so beautiful, ultimately Isaiah is saying, is because it actually can reach every single human being. The problem with focusing on the poor is we're not all poor. We're not all materially poor. What about the people who are not poor? There's no gospel for them. If it was simply about reaching the marginalised, those who are socially marginalised from our current society, we're not all marginalised in our society. The gospel would be silent over those people. Isaiah is showing us the gospel reaches every single person, and that's what makes the work of the Messiah beautiful, because every single person, from a monarch to a pauper in the street, is estranged from God. And it's that estrangement that the Messiah overcomes in his living and in his rejection and in his suffering and in his dying and his overcoming death. Thus, being reconciled to God, having sin forgiven and a new life offered. What could be more beautiful than that? Diamonds don't last forever. The Messiah's work does.